Okay. Well, I guess we're going to get started. This is the first presentation today for the Shuswap Food Action Society and Buckerfields. We are sponsoring the talks on food security. My name is Toni Walton. If you don't know me, I manage Buckerfields. I also own Avery's Acres, which is a homestead out in the Blind Bay area. So today we're going to talk about chickens. And I will say, I'd like to sort of touch first on the why. Why raise chickens? For us, it was because we wanted to start with egg layers. So the question is always there, what came first, the chicken or the egg? For us, it was the egg. We started with 8 chickens, and I should maybe elaborate a little bit. We are from the city, so coming to the Shuswap and buying 6 acres and starting with chickens was a big venture for us. Even the 8 chickens that we got. We thought they were hens. We got 2 boys, and there we began. So we had an old shed on our property, and we converted it to a chicken coop, lots of cleaning and getting it ready, and we were just winging it. I spent the year prior watching YouTube videos on how to raise chickens. So when I say anybody can do this, anybody can do this. I did have the benefit of working at Buckerfield, so I was able to visualize all the things that I would actually need. And as I started my venture with chickens, I slowly started learning what other things I could implement with the chickens in the coop. So we needed perches. So rather than, this also goes, the other day we talked about the cost of food. So we like to use things that we can find on our property. It's, so for perches, we use different tree branches. A lot of people will use lumber, they'll pay money, they'll buy metal perches, all different sorts of things. But being organic, we like to use what we have. So we built perches, we have nesting boxes. You can use old milk crates for nesting boxes. You can buy plastic nesting boxes. You can build them out of wood. It's always a nice place to have for your chickens to lay their eggs. But let me tell you, I learned very quickly they don't like to use nesting boxes all the time. They like to lay their eggs all over the property if you free range your birds. So there's a couple of different options. I'm going to have a very casual conversation. It can be interactive. If you have questions, put your hands up. We'll have a conversation about it. I'll answer it to the best of my ability or with my opinion on how to do things. And I think I'm going to maybe discuss a little bit deeper into the why. So we do this because we want to know where our food comes from. We want to know that these animals live a good, healthy life, that they are able to be chickens. I don't want them confined to a coop or a pen. Now, originally, yes, we did start out that way. We built a long run on the chicken coop, and they were in there, and I was very paranoid. I mean, it was a big run, but I was very concerned that maybe a predator would get them, or whatever the case is. However, my husband encouraged me to open the coop door, and lo and behold, they came home every night. They were safe. And it wasn't until 2 years down the road that we actually had our first predator. So it's always something to pay attention to, be aware of. They are there. They can be hawks, they can be raccoons, they can be weasels, they can be coyotes. There are so many different options. But I wanted my birds to live a proper free-range life. I wanted to know that they were getting everything they needed. I don't have to provide dust bath because they have dirt that they can dust bathe in. I wanted them to get the nutrients from the garden, from the grass, all of those sorts of things. And yes, we did lose some chickens, so we did put up more fencing. There's costs always associated with raising birds, livestock, whatever it may be. How many people here have chickens? 2? Anybody here because you want to get started with chickens? Yes? Okay. So, if you're going to get started with chickens, I do recommend starting it from chick, 2-day-old chicks. When I started, we got some pullets, so we thought they were all pullets are the females. And of course I had the 2 boys, so that was entertaining. But what I'm saying is if you order them from chicks, you get to have the entire experience. So you need heat, you need a confined space, you need small waterers, you need small feeders, you need chick starter. You need to decide if you're going to have your chickens vaccinated or if they're going to be non-vaccinated. You need to decide what kind of feed you want to feed your chickens. Do you want to feed them a certified organic feed? Do you want to feed them a non-GMO feed? There are a ton of questions. So I really like to say, really know your why and your what. What do you want to accomplish? Do you want to do this for yourselves? Do you want to do this for a business, a side business? The sky is the limit with chickens, really. Does anybody have any questions, and maybe we can have a little bit of interaction and we can have a conversation about this? Hi. Well, since I was a rookie, I probably should have known earlier, but until I heard the first crow. Some breeds are a lot harder to tell than others. Yeah. Have you experienced that? Okay. Right. It is a surprise. Now, are you going to keep this rooster? I say keep it because eventually you'll hatch out your own chicks. You know what? I've had 2 hens hatch out chicks, and it's well worth it. And believe it or not, people say, oh, separate them from the coop, put them somewhere else. Let them be. These mother hens will take care of their babies. We had the first one that we had, she was an Americana hen, and she hatched out 8 chicks, and she did it in the coop area. Underneath underneath of the coop, there's about a space this tall, and she had her chicks under there, and she taught them everything. She protected them from the other birds with roosters in there too, and it was a-okay.
So how would you allow that when you're still taking care of eggs? Because you find that they start the nesting box.
Yeah.
But they are laying a little bit everywhere in the box.
Right. So. Well, the chicken will decide that. So she's going to go broody, and she will sit on those eggs. She'll wait till she has enough of them, and she will sit on them. For the most part, they do hatch out each other's eggs. They sometimes all lay on the same nesting spot. However, for something like for me, it was an Americana hen. She kept the majority of her own eggs because they were the right size for her, as opposed to like maybe my Colombian rock that had bigger eggs. Yeah. So they'll tell you. You'll learn really, really quickly. Yes. Yeah. Hi.
Are they usually sexed with the seller, or you're supposed to know?
Good question. So if you order your birds, like for us at Buckerfields, we sell them from Rochester Hatchery out of Alberta, and they ship them via the post office. And you have the option of choosing sexed or unsexed. They do sex their dual-purpose birds. However, their heritage breeds, they do not sex. I guess it's too difficult to sex them. There are tons of different videos on YouTube and books, and they talk about how you can sex them by their feathers and so on and so forth. Beats me. I've never been able to tell. But if you order sexed, you have, it's never 100%, but it is about 90% accuracy. So even the chicks that we bring into the store that we sell out of the bin at Buckerfields, we order sexed because people don't want roosters, and there's a lot of unwanted roosters. So we order them sexed, and we just make sure that we tell the customer that, you know, it's 90% accuracy, and yeah, they should be female, but yeah. Anybody else? Hi. I have zero experience with ducks, but I do have somebody, if you want to talk to me afterwards, that can help you out with that. Yeah. Okay. So when you start off with a chick, I always start off with the small waterers. I also always get Polvite. So this is just a poultry vitamin. You can read the package directions, or you can be like me and just a little sprinkle into their water till it turns slightly yellow. It is a very good boost for the first 3 days. And I always keep it on hand, so if I need it at home for any bird, if there's anything going on, or dehydration, all those sorts of things, I put it in their water. I do this with the turkeys too. Small feeder so the chicks can get into it, as opposed to one of these bigger feeders like the blue one here. This one here, I used this year for the first time, and it is so much better than the ones I've used in the past. Way less mess. It's got legs. They stick their beaks right in the holes there. It's way less waste. And since we're getting into winter, I've also brought out some heated ones to show you. So when you have full-size hens or roosters, these are the heated waterers. So if you have a power source to your coop, or if you're going to do it outside in a covered area, just plug in and go. It keeps it from freezing. Or out front, I think I brought it. Oh, yes, this box right here is a heated base. It works for galvanized waterers, or it works for plastic-based waterers, and it keeps it from freezing as well. You believe it or not, people always ask me when I'm at the store. They ask all the time, well, what if it gets minus 25? What if it gets minus 30? Keep your chickens in the coop, but chickens, they regulate their temperature very, very well. We did insulate our coops, so you just want a draft-free area, but I don't turn any heat source on in my coops in the winter till it gets to about minus 15. They've been completely fine. So just keep that in mind. Those feathers keep them really warm. So that's how we started. And then, well, past couple of years have been different, to say the least, and we wanted to further our production. So we decided to get into meat birds. And I will say it is probably the best decision that we ever made. We know where our meat comes from. We know what it's fed. We know they've lived a good life, and I don't have to rely on a grocery store, because I know we've all been to the grocery store and there was nothing left on the shelves. So there are farmers, homesteaders, all these people, even if you can't do meat birds yourself, in this area that do supply meat. Get to know your farmers, because it could happen again. We never know what's going to happen. And just from experience, it is so incredibly rewarding. Yes, the freezers cost more money. Yes, the hydro bill is more. But I have freezers full of meat that I can just pull out and cook and not have a worry in the world about running out. This talk is supposed to be about chickens, but we've also done the same with turkeys, and we've also done the same with pigs. So I do highly recommend, if you're able to raise meat birds. Even I know people that do 20 for the year, and that's good for their family. You can sometimes, even if you don't have land, find a local farmer that's willing to let you come over and raise birds on your property. I mean, there was talks here on Friday about people coming together. You were here for those talks, and it's all about community and getting to know your farmer, getting to know who is out there and what they can do to help you, work with you, teach you. There's plenty of people that are willing to even invite you onto their farms or homesteads and give you sort of their tips and tricks on how to do things. So if you are able to do that, or just support your local farmer.
I have a question about meat birds.
Sure.
How long do both types live, and are you supposed to eat them before a certain age, or what do the timelines look like?
Good question. So meat birds, broilers, your typical white chicken, it is bred to grow quickly, 8 weeks. So anywhere between 6 and 8 weeks you can butcher. This is a very good question, because I'm going into this in a few minutes.
Sure,
so you need to, you, like who, what, where, when, and why. Okay, you need Broilers, 8 weeks is what I do them at, 8.5. I'm aiming for about a 5-pound bird. You do want to be cautious because as they're bred to eat, they eat constantly. You do want to just be cautious because they are prone to heart attack. So you don't want to overfeed, but you want to make sure that you're feeding them enough that they're going to be able to get to the size, their market weight. The first year we did it, we had incredibly large birds, but we were rookies with that one too. I mean, it was feeding 24/7, but I had very good success rate with survival. Very minimal casualties, and the birds were huge and fantastic, and it blew my mind that we were actually able to produce these birds. And when you go to a different type of bird, so a heritage bird, for example, I personally, a lot of people will have their birds for a few years, let them lay their eggs. As they stop laying their eggs, then they will become soup birds. I wouldn't necessarily take an Americana hen and roast it in the oven. No. But you could use it for bone broth. You could use the bird for soup, all those sorts of things. Birds can live a long time, 7, 8, 9 years. Broilers, like I said, only 8 weeks. And after that, they go down. And I have a funny story with this. So we just took our last batch of meat birds into the processor. And they were in the pen with the turkeys because we raised them together for the first 8 weeks because they don't tend to pick on each other at that point. However, I don't know how it happened. I looked everywhere. My husband looked everywhere. By the time we got home from the processor, I went out to check on the turkeys and we missed a meat bird. So we still have Ms. Meaty, and she is currently living in a pen close to the other birds, but it does happen, and this one is going to be quite large. So it'll be interesting to see because she's going to go to freezer camp here with the turkeys at the end of the month. So we'll see how that goes. Dual purpose, to continue on with the question that you asked, dual purpose birds, so those are like your Columbian rocks, your Rhode Island reds, your barred rocks. So when people say dual purpose, a lot of people think, okay, well, I'll get the chick and then, you know, in a few months I will process and eat it. It's not meant to be like that. A dual purpose bird is meant to do their thing for a couple of years, lay their eggs, and then you want to process them afterwards. And that makes a really good, you know, soup bird. Yeah. So when it comes to knowing your why, you know my why, it's because we want to make sure that we have food in the freezer and that we can get through what is happening in the world today. And how? Well, we learned on YouTube. We learned from, you know, just getting out there and doing it. Don't be afraid. You're going to make mistakes. We all make mistakes when it comes to it, but there's definitely, it's almost fun learning because, okay, you do something incorrect and you learn from your mistakes, and you want to make sure that you do it differently with the next batch. The other thing that I should mention when it comes to meat birds, if you are going to do it to be able to sell your meat, we do both. We sell our meat and we also keep enough for ourselves. You want to make sure that it is processed at a government inspected facility because they make sure everything is done to proper standards. There's an inspector on site when your birds are processed, just to make sure that there's nothing wrong with their livers or anything like that. And we take our birds to Tanya out at Spring Valley Ranch in Pritchard, and she is fantastic with the processing. You do, if you're going to do this, you need to know that you should be booking well in advance. I don't usually get my meat birds until April or May, and I am booking their processing long before they're even hatched. I book it in January and February just to make sure I have the proper dates. So always just keep that in mind. That is very true with any livestock that you are processing, because there are less and less places that you can actually get them done. So just remember to book ahead. And You know, even I'll dive into pigs a little bit here because, you know, a year or so ago, Rocana closed, and that's where everybody took their pigs to get processed. So it's been very difficult to find where you can take your meat to get it taken care of. I don't have beef, I don't have sheep, but I have heard it's like a 2-year wait list for beef. And so just always check. No, Cito's does the, like I take my, my pork after it's been slaughtered to Cito's, and they do the sausage and the ground and all that kind of stuff, but they don't do the kill. So, but there are places around now, and there's different licensing is sort of changing. So if anybody has any questions about that, I mean, this conversation is not about pigs, but we can talk about that afterwards, absolutely. Yes, so, and the other benefit, if you are going to sell your meat and you've taken it to the processor, they package it for you. They put your farm label on it, your whatever price you're going to put on it. They do it all so it looks completely professional. So that's always really, really nice to have too. I choose to feed, we try to raise our own vegetables organically, so on and so forth. So I do choose to feed my animals organic feed. Does that come with a heftier price tag? Yes, absolutely it does. I do try to support local as well. I get my feed from Pete's Feed in Armstrong. They grow their own grain there. And because we have so many birds, we do 300 meat birds a year and 50 turkeys, and then plus we have about 50 egg layers right now. So I do buy my feed by the tote. There is that option, so 1,000 kilograms at a time. And it's really important to us because we want to know what's in the food, so we do feed organic. And the animals do extremely well on it, but like I said, it does cost a lot more. But is that worth it? To me, it is worth it because I know what I'm eating. There are plenty of fantastic foods on the market. There is a non-GMO food, Chatterbox. We sell it at the store. It's fantastic. So there's tons of options, and I don't.
Oh, sorry. Is there anything you feed them that's just from your garden?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I feed them garden scraps all the time. We have that nasty invasive Japanese knotweed all throughout our property, and the chickens and turkeys love it. Don't think of it as an invasive weed. Please don't put Roundup on it. Just feed it to your animals. If you have the animals, feed it to them. They all eat it. The pigs eat it. The turkeys go crazy for it, and so do all of the chickens. Japanese knotweed. It kind of looks like bamboo when it grows, and it spreads. It'll even come up through concrete. But yeah, it's full of vitamin C. It's super healthy for you too. Hi. Yeah. Yeah. You cannot get larger quantities of the bagged feed. No, not Chatterbox. Pardon me? Pete's Feed, yeah, we do sell it by the bag at Buckerfields as well. So next time you're in, if you want to try a bag, yeah. Yeah, like it depends, like how many birds, you're talking about meat birds? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so we can talk about that. Yeah. Does anybody else have any questions? No? Okay. Well, I just wanted to come out here and have this conversation just about the benefits of being able to raise your own chickens and having the eggs, having the meat, knowing where your food comes from, and hopefully I've inspired some more people to do so. Now, I do know that there is a hesitation for a lot of people within city limits of Salmon Arm. The bylaw currently says you cannot raise birds in town unless you have over half an acre. This is in the process of being challenged, and it has already gone to 2 meetings at City Hall, so we are hopeful that by next spring that this bylaw is changed, because I think it's important that everybody is able to raise, especially eggs. I mean, in your own backyard. I mean, a hen doesn't make much noise at all. I mean, I can understand if you're living, you know, very close to your neighbors and you have a rooster crowing all the time, but that's, I think with all of the talk about being more food secure and sustainable in the Shuswap, I think that the officials need to start listening a little bit more and allowing people to grow their own food. You know, you let them grow their own gardens, and along with this is also keeping honeybees in your backyard. That's part of this bylaw too. The bylaw is very old, and we are on a mission to get it changed. A friend of mine is actually taking over this mission. She's been working on this for 1.5 years, and last year, if you were here at the fair, you know that we had petitions out here and we got a lot of signatures. So they are hearing us, they are seeing it, so hopefully we have some success with that. Okay, thank you for coming.
Thank you so
Thanks.
much.